Welcome to the very first episode of The Bomb Squad. Featuring terrible, crappy movies from all around the globe. I am one of your hosts and the podcast producer / editor with no experience whatsoever, Shawn, aka Yog Sotthoth. With me today is a special guest. Introduce yourself.
Zach Lupo, known as the Man of Action. I'm an expert in all things action-oriented.
Even live action.
Even live action.
Awesome.
And I have a tasty beverage with me today, as I do in most all evenings. The beverage of all beverages. I have the White Russian to accompany me on this intro podcast today.
Famous for its drinking in that special movie,
Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski.
That's where I got it from, actually. I was inspired many, many years ago. Tried it, and now I love it. And now every time I watch a movie, here it is.
Did I ever tell you about the time I tried to live like the Big Lebowski? Or the dude, rather, for 1 week?
No.
Were
you successful?
Yeah, but I felt like death afterwards. After sitting on a couch drinking White Russians for a whole week in a robe and slippers. And not really doing much else.
Yeah, but looking back at it, it may have seemed unproductive. But during that week, you were the king.
Yeah, it was really great, actually. So, with that said, probably wondering what this podcast is all about. I think what we're going to do here for this very first inaugural episode is talk about three things. One, that giant cluster known as Pacific Rim that just came out. Two, remakes and how insane they are. Directly speaking about Oldboy 2013 versus Oldboy 2004. And three, the heart and soul of this podcast. We really want to focus on a terrible, horrible bomb to review every time we do this. And this show's will be Street Fighter, featuring Claude Van-Damme and a band of misfits.
Excellent. Sounds like a great show.
It will be. So, as Yog Sotthoth would drink, I am drinking a Kraken spiced rum iced tea with a little bit of lime juice.
Sounds pretty fancy.
It's the only thing I can use to steel myself for this upcoming awesomeness. So the first thing we'll talk about, I guess, is Pacific Rim. I'll read a little synopsis in case you have not seen it. And this is directly from Warner Brothers. When legions of monstrous creatures, known as kaiju, start rising from the sea, a war began that would take millions of lives and consume humanity's resources for years to end. To combat the giant kaiju, a special type of weapon was devised, massive robots, called Jaegers, German for hunter, which are controlled simultaneously by two pilots whose minds are locked in a neural bridge. But even though none of this makes sense, the human race is on the verge of defeat. Forces defending mankind have no choice but to turn to two unlikely heroes, a washed-up former pilot and an untested trainee, who are teamed to drive a legendary but seemingly stupid Jaeger from the past. Together, they stand as mankind's last hope against the mounting apocalypse.
Now, I have not seen this movie, and I figured at this point, you can convince me to either go see it or not go see it. I'm going to ask you some questions.
I'm ready. Hit me.
The trailer, I was sold on the trailer. Giant robots. I saw a lot of good action. I saw a good director. And I was like, okay, this has potential. But I haven't seen it yet. So, I've read mixed reviews. But in your opinion, do you feel like it was worthy to be called a summer blockbuster?
Yes. Because it was everything a summer blockbuster is, which is giant, awesome CGI, like 80 to 90% good action scenes, better than most. And I didn't
overuse of slow motion.
They had some good slow motion, from what I recall. That could have been just the cough syrup I drank before watching it.
I was going to ask if you were sober.
And I honestly felt no different after walking out of this movie than I did out of Iron Man 3, which I liked. I thought it was fine. They both seem like giant, goofy monster movies to me.
Yeah, I wasn't, I guess, too thrilled with the cast. I didn't recognize too many of the people. One of the guys in it from Prometheus, I had taken note of in there, and I don't even know his name, but I like the black guy.
Oh, yeah, Idris Elba. Yep.
Yeah, him.
Also Thor and, I don't know, The Wire? There we go.
He was in Thor?
Yeah, he was the gatekeeper guy in Thor.
Oh, that's great. I couldn't place him. That's fantastic. I liked the gatekeeper. That's good stuff.
That's why they chose him, because of that one role. You look great in a costume. Here. Yeah, but like, I guess a lot of people went in this movie thinking that, oh, it's Guillermo del Toro, and he made Pan's Labyrinth, and that was awesome, and so dramatic and wonderfully touching. But this movie is the exact opposite. Like,
well, Pan's Labyrinth was heavy on visuals.
It was.
Which I guess he really enjoys, because I'm assuming that Pacific Rim is heavy on visuals as well.
Yeah, like, he's awesome at that. But whereas Pan's Labyrinth had like all these deep characters and great plot and awesome storyline, like this movie had like zero of any of that. Any plot they had just made no sense. It just like went right over the head, and you're like, okay, sure.
I think it's because it's Americanized.
I don't know. My honest opinion is that like he's a Spanish director, so I think his Spanish language films are all great, and I think his English films are all shitty. And I know that's probably not a opinion shared by everybody.
No, but it's common when you look at foreign film and what happens to these directors when they come over to the States. Typically speaking, the American audience is actually quite stupid, and we dumb things down for them. I say them because I don't consider myself part of that audience.
Neither of us are. We're so far above all you weakling mortals listening to this.
It's true, though.
It's kind of true. So
he can get away with more. He probably has more freedom to do what he wants when he does something outside of the realm of American movies.
I mean, it's all conjecture, but it's probably true. I mean, this movie's like, what,
This is true.
$86 million? And typically you don't give a guy $86 million and not, like, also tell him what to do.
Excellent point. So for pure entertainment value, you would say go see it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's better on big screen than it will be on small screen. Guaranteed. It's better with giant sound than it will be with tiny sound. Maybe even see it in 3D. It might be that kind of movie. I myself.
Fantastic.
I didn't see it in 3D, but...
It's got that option?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, there it is.
And
Pacific Rim.
I guess I have one more thing to add about it that kind of frustrated me. He was supposed to direct this movie called At the Mountains of Madness, which comes from a story by H.P. Lovecraft, which is an awesome story about, like, it's almost like The Thing. It was like what The Thing was based on. These researchers back in the 1900s, late 1800s, go up to Antarctica, which at the time was like this undiscovered continent, and they find things underneath the ice that are totally scary and crazy, the Elder Gods. And,
okay.
And this has been Guillermo del Toro's passion project for a really long time. He hasn't been able to get it funded. So I guess with Pacific Rim, my worry is it doesn't make enough money. It's already lost at the time of this podcast the first weekend to Grown Ups 2. Once again, reaffirming that Americans are retarded.
They when there's too much money put into a film, and if it can't make that money back, it'll be considered a bomb in the office.
Yep.
Even if it is of decent quality, at least for what it is. Hollywood's given a few second chances.
It's true.
Ben Affleck's a good example. Geely.
That's true.
It may be one of the best examples. His second chance actually proved to be quite successful, and he's turned himself into a pretty strong director, I think.
God, he's so bad. And Phantoms may be a movie that this podcast looks into later, because that's really special.
Note to self.
So, like, another thing, I guess leading into the very next topic, which is Oldboy versus Oldboy. one time I wrote a letter
I've not.
to Guillermo del Toro. It's one of these really like fanboyish, angry letters, and I was so pissed because I saw this movie, The Orphanage. Did you ever see it? It's this sweet horror movie, directed by a Spanish language director, and I guess Guillermo del Toro loved it.
Okay.
Came out in 2007, and so in 2009, he was
Not
like back in
enough
this
gap
one
for a
director to like
remake.
remake it into an American movie, which
No shit.
seems a little
You
unnecessary.
never told me
right?
about this.
It's 2 years old. And he answered, strangely enough. Nope. He did. And then he answered it in like this really measured, like appropriate tone. And I felt really bad about like yelling at him. And not only had like, it like caught me off guard and it disarmed me. And so I was like, I had to have this little conversation with him. And basically it was just talking about, he thinks that like different directors should have their chances to go ahead and spin their own like version of these really popular foreign films.
Well, a remake itself, can go either ways, but it's ultimately paying respect to, a piece of work done by somebody else. A lot of times you do want to spin your own tail on it, but in a lot of cases that a remake is done, a director will actually copy maybe a scene or two, frame for frame, because they recognize that was the way it was done initially was the best way it could have been done. But everybody wants to retell a story, so I've always been okay with a remake. It's just it's a hit or miss thing. I mean, sometimes they're amazingly successful, and sometimes they're just embarrassing. And I think you've even mentioned it to me by saying that sometimes it actually, even though it's just kind of a sad statement, but sometimes it brings these great foreign films to American eyes, which a lot of times will overlook certain things like Oldboy. And now I'm sure it's getting a lot of attention because of the remake that's coming out.
And I worked at a Blockbuster Video, and I got to experience this firsthand. Some people just don't know how to read. So...
Or read fast.
I think I tried to make somebody rent that weird Mel Gibson Apocalypto movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, try this out. And they're like, what you mean? You got subtitles in it? I don't know what it's talking about. And
these are people that could never appreciate real film anyway.
It's just kind of sad that you'll have knowledge of this weird Josh Brolin version. But I guess without further ado, Oldboy 2013 versus Oldboy 2004. And I guess we thought it would be a good idea to kind of just take in this trailer. So I guess in count of 3, we'll go ahead and pop this trailer on.
And actually, if you want to join us, I'll give you a couple seconds. Go either do a Yahoo search or just look for a Red Band trailer for Oldboy, the Spike Lee version. And you kind of follow along with it as we kind of break this apart. And if you've seen the original, then you'll probably have, I guess, more of a connection with what we're about to say. But we won't give away anything in what we're talking about. One thing we really can't do is we don't want to spoil this particular movie. So we're going to...
Yep. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Rolling. I love Red Band trailers.
Me too.
I think everything should be R-rated, as is life.
Josh Brolin looks a lot different than he did in Goonies, that's for sure.
He looks pretty worn.
Well, life after Goonies is pretty grizzled.
Hello?
I like the setting, though.
It looks pretty
I think
pretty.
the look and feel is going to be very similar.
Look at me. No.
I'm also a fan of, we just got a quick glimpse of him, Sam Jackson.
I'm also a
And
big fan.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say I'm a big fan of, I don't know. I guess he'll be able to, highlight all the weirdest things that happened in the past 20 years. And,
Spike Lee likes to do that kind of thing, too. He's really big on issues.
He is. And
world themes, things like that.
You can definitely see it in this. Josh Brolin's buff.
Yeah.
I would somehow bring him here. Do you think you could forgive him?
I think it's interesting they kept the whole, I don't know, long hair thing, but, this weird, view of his daughter on the TV. I don't remember that happening in the Korean version.
No, I find some of the things with his family in this trailer surprising, which kind of makes me wonder if he's altered the story a little bit. But I like
I haven't seen the guy in like 20
he has a look about him like a man that's actually, I mean, because this is a tale of vengeance, and he does look like somebody that's clearly out to resolve something.
What do you think about the umbrella with the weird red scratches on it?
That was indicative of the marks on the original one.
That's right.
I think that's a new take on it, though. I don't recall that in the original.
It wasn't. Oh, the hammer scene. The hammer scene's still here. Yay. Sort of.
I actually read that it's filmed shot for shot.
Is it really?
And the original one was in one take. It was one Steadicam shot.
Yeah, it was.
Except for a computer-generated knife stab at some point.
So what do you think about this Man of Action?
I think that what I liked about the action in Oldboy is that not all action has to be Matrix action. Sometimes it's just enough to be, it could be the intensity of the characters and the way something's filmed. It doesn't have to be long, drawn-out feats of slow motion. But the hammer scene was fantastic. Man of Action gives 2 thumbs up. And I think this will go the same way, especially if he's paying tribute to it. So I think the trailer maybe a little more wordy than I would like it to be, because the original one for Oldboy, you just saw this guy trapped for 15 years. You know, what the fuck? Why is he released? What is he doing? Your curiosity sets in, and then that's all you really know. You kind of go through it with him. So you already kind of know this is a little bit of a revenge tale. He's in prison for 20 years. Some business with his family. Somebody's orchestrating it. I don't know. They probably released a little too much, but I still like the trailer. I still think it's going to be enough to make people that wouldn't normally see a movie like this go see it.
Yeah, pretty typical of like American trailers, I think. Give away a whole lot, you know, to try and get people interested. Right. But yeah, I dig the idea that this should have been a little less info, maybe a little more mysterious. Maybe you go the opposite way to attract people, you know, give them something really bizarre. As far as trailers go, I always come back down to like have you seen the Shining trailer, the original?
It's been a while.
Okay, so for the Shining trailer, like it's literally just a picture of the elevator in which the 2 girls come down in.
Yeah.
And all you see is like a slow motion wave of blood that comes out like after minute 1 or something. And it just lasts for like a minute and a half long. There's just like blood sloshing around through the hallway, and it just says like The Shining. That makes me want to watch it.
Well, at that point, I mean, I'm sure they put somewhere in there based on the story by Stephen King.
They might have. I didn't remember that part, but yeah, they probably did.
Check.
The blood covered it all up. So go ahead.
What do you think about the director styles here? We're going to see Spike Lee versus Park Chan-wook. Like if you get somebody's name and it's like Zhang Ziyi, if you go to her like credit list, it's always backwards. But we say it. I'm not even sure the correct way to put. I've always called him Chan-wook Park. Park is his last name.
Well, that's the actual like anglicized English way to say it. So in Korea, because he's Korean, he is called Park Chan-wook. You always say the family name first.
Gotcha. All right, so Park versus Lee. What do you think?
All right, Park versus Lee. So I'm looking right now through Lee's like history, and there's great stuff. Like, I am a huge fan of the movie Do the Right Thing. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've not.
So, like, if you get a chance to, or anybody does, please watch it. It's awesome. It's about this little neighborhood in Brooklyn where he grew up, and, like, it all comes to, like, a boiling head of, like, weird bigotry and stuff like that. But before it, it's, like, this amazing picture of a little black neighborhood in New York. And, like, ever since I saw that movie and I heard that Spike Lee was doing Oldboy, I had this idea that was like, man, Spike Lee should just go ahead and make it really, really American. Because, like, instead of just doing a shot-for-shot remake, use what he did and do the right thing. Make this amazing neighborhood that you can feel, touch, and, like, every character is super vivid. And just, you know, hell, I would have been happy if it wouldn't have been Josh Brolin. It would have been, like, I don't know, Denzel Washington or something. Just entirely changed the movie. Color, culture. But he didn't do that. I'm not sure what it was. I still have faith in him. I think he's a good director, but he has done some really floppy movies like Miracle at St. Anna's and Park Chan-wook. He's just an artist. I mean, the movie's got great scenes, like you were saying. Like, this trailer is really wordy, but I feel like Park Chan-wook can express a lot of things without using words. Just uses like really like beautiful images, even if that image is like just blood and hammers. So I'm curious to see like if Spike Lee just makes it too wordy.
Well, I've got some concerns as well. I think that I think Park is kind of unconcerned with the American audience. You know, I use American audience as this term, but it seems like foreign audiences, anything goes. Like you can tell the story the way you want to tell it without worried about what people will think. I think that's why Oldboy, the original one, was so successful. And he's a lot of his movies, like this is part of a revenge trilogy. In revenge stories, in all three of these movies, Lady Vengeance, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and Oldboy, all of them are excellent tales of revenge. A lot of the elements in there are surprising. You don't know what's coming, especially in Oldboy. Oldboy is my favorite of the three. And then Lee, he's very passionate about his work. I'll give him that, and I think that's going to be one of the things that helped carry this film. And I also think that he likes real characters. Like, that's one of the things he's known for. He does push the envelope a little bit as well.
That's true.
So I think that, and because of his focus on world issues, and I know he's got to focus on racial issues, which I don't have a problem with. I just don't like it beaten over my head so much. I hope that that kind of element of the film is not there, because I don't think the original tale is a tale of revenge, all race aside. So I don't need any kind of lesson in this film.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be anything shoehorned in here for sure.
My gut reaction at first was, what the fuck? Why is Lee doing this? So I did a little research on it, and part of me thinks maybe he'll change it a little bit to give something fresh to those that have seen the original. But I really think it's a tribute to the fact that Park's story was pretty fantastic, and honestly, he's got some balls to do this, because if it's portrayed just like the original was and put in front of an American audience, a test audience would probably look at it and just kind of like, you said it yourself, be like, what the fuck? I don't want to. Why did I see this? You can't get these images out of your mind. These are things that probably have not crossed the minds of most Americans. I'm kind of looking forward to that.
That's
true. I want to see the reaction that people have to it. Convinced a girl at work to go see it just by my passionate nature of, you just won't believe the ending. The ending's so fucked up. Nobody expects this kind of thing. It's wrong. It's not made for humans. It's like you've seen The Mist, Stephen King.
Oh
right?
yeah.
All right, the movie itself not fantastic, but entertaining. But the ending, without giving anything away, is brutal, and it is.
Yeah, it's really great.
When you see it, you just feel terrible, and you're like, "Oh my god, why did this just happen?"
I love the ending.
I did too. I thought it was fantastic.
And for fans of Cthulhu and/or H.P. Lovecraft, also, it's one of the few movies that has a giant elder god type monster.
It does.
In the end, yeah, you don't get many elder gods on TV.
You don't.
So, let's talk
I'm
about.
I'm okay with Lee.
Yeah, I'm siding on Park Chan-wook because, honestly, I don't even understand the purpose of this remake. I'm interested in seeing it, but it's I don't have high hopes, and I hope that maybe it'll exceed those. But for right now, I'm just siding with what the fuck are we remaking this for? So,
well, like you said, it's somebody who wants to put their own spin on a story that I can guarantee you Spike Lee never came up with in his artistic career.
What? You saying something about the guy who made Robetta Blues? He's not going to come up with Oldboy? Yeah. So let's talk about Josh Brolin versus the actor who plays Oldboy in the Korean movie Choi Min-sik. I think it's pronounced, I'm not for sure. In the American version, he stays in prison in this little room for 20 years. In the Korean version, he stays in prison in a little room for 15 years. And if you know the ending of Oldboy, try to think about why that change was made. I think I understand it, but I don't really want to give away what it was. It has to do with his daughter, though.
I found the 5-year gap interesting. If it's based on the way that it ends in Korea, then it may be a way to make the ending not quite as bad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually.
But even then, it's like, or still getting stabbed twice in the leg, you only stabbed once. You know, it's still
true.
I don't know if that's the real reason.
I'm going with that's what it is. Why make that change if it has no purpose?
What if, and this is something I think Lee would do, what if he just wants to put 20 years worth of world problems in the videos that are being shown to him
That I
in the
could
room?
go with. Spike Lee is going to like tell us all about Hurricane Katrina through Oldboy's television set.
I can't even remember what was happening 20 years ago. That would be worthy of news. So this would be a nice reminder, kind of a refreshing of my past.
I'll tell you what was happening 20 years ago. This is what we're going to learn about. What is it today, 2013?
14.
Okay,
yeah.
So Spike Lee's film Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop, We Cut Heads came out. And we're going to learn about that through Oldboy's TV.
I'm not excited about that.
It's actually going to just be trailers. That's all that's going to show on Josh Brolin's TV is trailers for Spike Lee movies that he thinks you should see.
That's why he's so fucked up when he comes out of the room. He's seen nothing but trailers for Spike Lee movies.
Man, what's the world come to?
Maybe he comes out racist.
You might. I like the twist. Here's my thing. Choi Min-sik is freaking crazy looking. When he's in the room and he's sitting there for 15 years, like, I don't know if he's the villain, if he's the good guy. In the Korean movie, I had no idea what this guy is. Josh Brolin just seems like the all-American hero to me.
I can see that. He's definitely got the look. And he is a pretty good actor. He actually has only really come into play over the last, like, maybe 6 or 7 years of really getting some solid roles. But I like, of the two, I did like Choi a lot. He reminds me of Chow Yun-fat. He's very charismatic. He says a lot without saying a word. And he does. He looks crazy. And I never really thought about that. You look at that dude and you really can't tell if he's the hero or the villain.
There was some other movie that Choi Min-sik was in that was awesome. Also a great revenge thriller. I Saw the Devil. So if you haven't seen I Saw the Devil, great Korean revenge flick.
I haven't seen that one either.
It's awesome. It's the bomb. It's the bomb. And he plays a crazy person in that too. So what do you think? America versus Korea?
What do you mean America versus Korea?
One, you're not going to have an octopus eating scene, which is sad.
Which is a great scene. I don't know if you know this, but he did actually eat the live octopus. He ate 4. It took 4 shots to get it. And that Choi is actually a Buddhist, I believe, and he said a little prayer for each octopus before he ate it.
Well, that's sweet of him.
Yeah, wasn't it, though?
I think maybe he actually screwed up 3 of the shots just to eat more octopus.
He probably enjoys it. It's a delicacy.
It is. It's really good.
Except they normally cut up the octopus, so him eating it whole was a little out of the ordinary, even for the strange act that it is to us.
Even the Koreans were like, whoa. Eating
Like, chop that up, dude.
whole thing? Come on now.
That was a fucked up scene, though.
It was.
Well, we're gonna have to expect it to be Americanized a little bit, just to make, like you said, he's gonna create his American world. You know, he's gonna build it here.
Yeah, and I'm totally not sad about that, actually. I think out of all things about this movie, that's what I'm most looking forward to. I want to see Spike Lee change this into, like, his movie and his world. I don't want to see him copy this shot for shot, because he can't top it. You can't. It's pointless.
No, I agree. I think we're both very excited that we get to go back to the Oldboy world again. You know, I would love to see Oldboy again for the first time.
That's true.
You know, I think that the elements are strong enough with strong acting, solid director, that the potential is there to be an excellent remake. May not be better. I'm just kind of excited about it. I like to find something good in every film that I watch, even Street Fighter.
Sweet.
You know, there's something to say.
Speaking
hey,
of,
this movie's good or bad. There's always that one part in every film that's like, oh, you got to see, even if it's stupid, funny. So this film's got to have something about it that's going to make you say, hey, that was pretty solid.
well, there's like 50
job,
parts
baby.
in Street Fighter, so let's go ahead and get on to Street Fighter since we agree about Old Boy. Old Boy. Yep, Old Boy.
Old boy.
Old Boy.
He could have called it that. He got different press.
He's about an Appalachian mountain man who falls asleep in his whiskey still and wakes up 20 years later like Rumpelstiltskin and then
You should write a short story on that.
wonders why he got so drunk in the first place. The end.
Old boy.
All right, so
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter. Oh, it's sigh of terribleness that came out of you right there.
Because I watched
Was
it today.
telling.
Hour and 40 minutes of my life stolen.
Stolen away. So, plot synopsis, I guess. I wrote a miniature one to read out for this podcast. Colonel Guile, played by Jean-Claude Van-Damme, leads a band of misfits and 100 faceless allied nations, because you can't use United Nations in movies, I guess, to take down General M. Bison. We don't know what the M stands for. He is a dictator of a fictional land called Chandalu, which also is known as Thailand in the real world. He kidnapped a busload of people, and he plans to auction them off to the allied nations for $20 billion. What do you think about this one? First thoughts.
Initial thoughts were, crap. That's what came to mind. But to give a more intelligent response, for a movie based on a video game, which is not always bad, this one was exceptionally weak. It lacked in action. Man of Action gives 2 thumbs down. There wasn't one combat scene of any sort that I would want to go back and see or recommend to anyone else. It had a couple elements of laugh-out-loud retardation, which I always appreciate. And I think Van Damme's a train wreck, and I love watching him on the screen because he says stupid things, he does stupid things, and his broken English is pretty funny.
How many times do you think he ad-libbed lines in this movie?
I don't know, but he pronounced the word attack as attack, and I about lost it at that point.
Attack!
I took note of it. I just stopped it and watched it again. That's one of the moments if I was going to recommend this movie to somebody else.
Favorite moment?
Listening to Jean-Claude Van Damme say the word attack.
I thought he gave a pretty rousing speech at the end, too. I was moved.
Yeah. Move to stop the playing of the video on Netflix and move on to something else.
I guess this movie also stars Kylie Minogue as Cammy and Raul Julia as M. Bison. In case you didn't know, Raul Julia also played Gomez Addams in The Addams Family and Addams Family Values, and a couple other things.
He also has a very solid theater background.
He does.
Actually, a really strong stage career before he moved into film.
And then he ended it with this movie because sadly, before Street Fighter was even released, he fell into a coma from his long battle with cancer and never even got to see it hit theaters.
It's probably a good thing.
Probably for the best, honestly. Did you like the note they gave him at the end of the movie?
Oh, yeah. I almost felt bad. It's like to be remembered on Street Fighter. As far as movies based on video games, what's your take on that to begin with?
Ooh, okay, so obviously they used to be really bad. There's exceptions to that. I think this is it's terrible. It's like a 1 out of 10. Or 2 out of 10. I guess 1 out of 10 is more like Uwe Boll movies, if you know that director. German. Made like In the Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege Tale, Blood Rain. A couple other really terrible. Yeah. So, he's the worst, and this is the second worst. They try to shoehorn so many things into the... If you've ever played Street Fighter, everybody's got special moves, and everybody's got, certain outfits that they wear, and, all that is in this movie. It doesn't make any sense, but it's all in this movie. Okay, you got Balrog. He's a bouncer that looks just like Mike Tyson in the video game. He has weird shaved hair. It makes it look like he has pumpkin head or something. He has weird spikes in his hair, and he's wearing cut off jorts and a weird wife beater shirt, and they make him look like that in this movie. Supposedly he's an Allied Nations troop, but at some point he's wearing his cut off jorts and got boxing gloves, assaulting in Bison's palace.
Do you keep saying jorts?
Yep.
Like jean shorts?
Jean shorts. Sexy as hell.
That's what they did in this film. In instead of plugging, because there was very little actual fighting which was for a Street Fighter movie, instead of plugging like the combat or whatever, they just had all the characters look like they looked in the game. There were settings like in the game. There was a giant bell in the base, which I think you could ring in the game, so they stuck it in the movie.
Yep.
I mean, it was fucking terrible. And the costumes were so weak, and the actors were so weak, it was just a giant mess.
Well, it did get
It really was.
number 27 on Empire's 50 worst movies ever.
Yeah, I saw that, and you know what is, you know what it was worse than? Slightly worse than Glitter with Mariah Carey. I mean, what does that say?
That should be the tagline for this film. Slightly worse than Glitter. Just slightly. I did look up some taglines for this movie, too, which also are just great for jokes. The ultimate challenge begins this Christmas in theaters everywhere. My thought being that the challenge was just watching the whole thing.
Getting through the whole thing.
We also would like to do like drinking games that you at home can do while you watch these movies. This movie, even though we just rag on it, it's worth something. At least in my opinion, it's worth seeing like how bad it is, because it's almost funny how terrible it can be. What do you think?
Yeah.
Would you prefer to watch it drunk?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think I would have preferred to watch it drunk with someone there to share the laughter with me.
Yeah, I'm totally down with
and,
that.
Well, what did you think as far as drinking game goes?
Okay, well,
I came up with one.
I have a great one. I don't know if I can take credit for it or not, but here it goes. As you're watching Street Fighter the movie, drink a shot every time you wish you were watching Mortal Kombat instead.
I love that. That's hilarious. Mortal Kombat came a year later. Actually, it might be a good film to tackle like next time next time we do a video game movie, but that's a good one. I like that.
And speaking of, I just found this out. I didn't put it in the show notes, but Jean-Claude Van Damme turned down the role of Johnny Cage to play in Street Fighter.
And on top of that, Tobias and Boone, the creators of Mortal Kombat, designed Johnny Cage on Van Damme and asked Van Damme to do the motion capture and be the character for the game, which he turned down.
Layers upon layers.
I know. He just made bad decision after bad decision. We'll get to that.
All right.
The drinking game that I can... Actually, I see we'll get to that. Well, my drinking game centers around Jean-Claude Van Damme. Anytime he says or does anything, take a shot.
I agree.
Because it's fucking funny.
Quote unquote, from Colonel William F. Gow, 4 years of IOTC for this shit.
I wrote one down too. My favorite one is, let's see, this is a collection agency, Bison. Your ass is 6 months overdue.
I know he comes back to that line like 2 or 3 times too. There's like, he says it to him early, and then in the end when he's actually beating him up, he says it again. Yeah. He brings it back up like, now you really owe me your money or something. I'm just like, leave it alone, dude. He doesn't even have any money. All he has is M. Bison dollars, which he's created.
Which DJ steals in the end.
So let's talk about M. Bison, because seriously, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's the comic relief, and Raul Julia, for his cancer-ridden body, gives it everything he's got.
Yeah, the performance wasn't... I mean, it wasn't Oscar.
No.
Winning material, but it wasn't terrible.
He did have boots that allowed him to fly.
Yes. And he flew, 3 times across the room, which Jean-Claude Van Damme could not get out of the way when he just rammed into him with his fist. Terrible. And that was supposed to be the little move in the game where he, like, goes horizontal and spins across the screen.
Yep, that was it.
Awful. It was terrible. It was just fucking terrible.
Did you see Jean-Claude Van Damme do a flash kick?
I did.
Boom.
I did not hear him say Sonic Boom,
didn't.
which disappointed me.
I agree. I was in the same boat there. So yeah, I thought Raul Julia was pretty insane. Like, not good insane. It's just like a goofy parody of like a psychopath.
And he's not a fighter. Every time people make these action movies and they cast, I mean, Van Damme has ruined himself over the years, but he was some kind of karate champion or something when he was younger. I mean, he actually does know some shit. So if you're going to put him against somebody, don't put him against an old man laden with cancer. You can't get an action scene out of that. That's like they do it all the time. They put what's his name, 80-year-old Count Dooku in the Star Wars movies. I can't even remember his name, but he can't do any action. He's fucking 80. Some of the actors in this, I don't know who did you think was an actual martial artist? Do you think the guy that played Ken actually knew anything about martial arts?
No.
Even the Asian guy was questionable, and that's stereotyping.
It was. It was. Martial artist in this film, maybe Chun-Li, probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd give it to her either. Vega did a little role. Sagat was definitely not at all.
Now that you mention it, yeah, no one had any martial arts training in this film, which is kind of.
You can at least say that about Mortal Kombat. They at least had fucking fighting scenes.
Yes.
With martial artists.
But I love the fact that, I mean, that's why this movie's on the list, right? So Street Fighter, you put Jean-Claude Van Damme against a cancer-ridden old man. Great film.
Terrible.
This movie did make enough money to complete the budget, surprisingly. I think it made $33 million domestically and $66 million worldwide, so it only cost $35 to make. And so it tripled its budget. And there's parts in the film where you see they're setting it up for a sequel. For example, Dalsim. If anybody's played the video game, Dalsim was this weird Indian yogi who spits fire and levitates and has arms that stretch across the screen like Stretch Armstrong. In this movie, he's a doctor. So.
Oh yeah, he's a. This is something I thought we could bring up too in these shows. He says like the message in the film, like this film. If anything, I found a message in it.
Ooh.
If good men do nothing, that is evil enough. I wrote that shit down.
Right.
There it is.
There it is.
Somebody may see that and say, Street Fighter changed my life.
If you hear a message in Street Fighter, drink.
I didn't even realize that was him.
Yeah, and well, there's a scene in the end, not to spoil anything, but it doesn't really matter. You're like, when is he going to turn into Stretchy Arm guy? And he never does, but he does get Blanca's weird, like, serum all over his arms when the machine explodes at the end. And the
whole part with Blanca was retarded too.
Oh my god, yes.
He didn't even do anything.
He didn't.
Just became the Hulk and then died.
I think like they tried to make Blanca's special move was electrocuting people in the game, and I think like in the end when the machines were blowing up, I think it was kind of like he was electrocuting people by throwing them into a machine that was malfunctioning and shocking them.
Fantastic. I didn't gather that either.
I was really stretching. I was searching for every special move for every character the whole time because there was nothing else.
Ryu had his little. You didn't see it, but he did the little hand maneuver, like do a little.
Oh, he
Ken did the uppercut.
That's right.
Ken did the uppercut. Vega did a little roll stab.
Yep, and he got his claw taken off. You know,
yes, he did.
Just like in the
May have even climbed a fence, which I think he was the only one that could do that. Climbed the fence.
Yep.
The 100-hand slap.
Yes.
E Honda.
Got it.
Smacking them. Zangief,
yeah. Comic Russian relief.
The part where the truck is rolling into the camp and he's like, somebody change the channel. I actually laughed. I laughed there.
Yeah, there was one laugh in Street Fighter.
That was it.
What'd you think about the fantastic stealth boat?
I love the stealth boat. It looked like something out of James Bond.
So in the end, Jean-Claude Van Damme and all of his Allied Nations troops, they jump on a bunch of boats and they like just drive to M. Bison's lair via a river.
That sparks one of my worthwhile moments, actually.
Does it?
Well, yeah, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and this is why I would recommend this movie to somebody else, that's especially a fan of Street Fighter, just for a good laugh. M. Bison is on this hovering platform using a Street Fighter arcade console to detonate mines while the stealth boat is coming into his base. And he's that kid that bangs buttons and tries to win. He doesn't even try and like strategically hit the buttons all smooth and strategic, like he's just mashing buttons.
I will detonate all the mines.
And then for like the moment where he detonates the mines and blows up the boat, he just like slams like all 12 buttons. And he's just like, oh fuck, man. What the shit was that?
Yeah.
That's one of my 3 worthwhile moments. I can give the other 2. That's one, the arcade game pad to detonate the mines. The other one is when Guile comes up, this is Claude Van-Damme's character, out of the chamber that Blanca was supposed to be in. He leaps out of the fog with no running start, like maybe 20 feet forward. Just jump kicks, flying through the air. Cracked me up. Very, very fantastic. And of course, the last one is the final 3 seconds. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it really is worth it.
Watch beyond the credits.
3 seconds. Not after the credits, before the credits.
Oh, really? Oh, they knew nobody would watch beyond the credits. Oh.
I'm surprised I even waited till the credits were done.
I am too. Good job.
I'm glad I got a chance to see that, though. But you can actually replay World Domination. Cheers to that.
My favorite moment in the whole movie was unspoken, and it was just so weird to me. It was in M. Bison's room, lair. I don't know. He had a painting in the background that was a copy or like homage to serial killer John Wayne Gacy's clown self-portrait called like Pogo the Clown, I think it is. And like, it's just M. Bison, but colored and looks just like the Pogo the Clown serial killer painting.
Wait, is that the one where he's on the horse?
No, not this one. There's an even smaller painting. The horse painting is pretty great too, but there's a like clown painting in the background of one or two of the scenes. You can look it up online. Just look up John Wayne Gacy / M. Bison, and you'll find it. But yeah, I just love the fact.
Look at that.
I remember reading about the director. He wrote Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2. He had never really directed a whole lot of stuff. And he like wanted to make this not a video game movie. Somehow he wanted to make it more serious than that. And I feel like this is how he tried to do it. He was like, M. Bison's a real psychopath, folks. He has a clown painting in his room. And like John Wayne Gacy, I don't know. What a serial killer to base it on.
I mean, it's strange to even give tribute to Gacy like that. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how. I bet John Wayne Gacy would be pleased. What a fitting tribute to him, Street Fighter the movie, to all his murdered basement children. So this gets 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. What do you give it?
Out of 100%? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll take the take on it that I do on the opposite end of the spectrum. I don't believe in the perfect anything. I don't believe there's a 10 out of 10. I always believe in 9. 9 out of 10, 9.5. So I hate to give it a 1, even though I want to give it a 1. So I would say a few redeeming qualities, some good lines, some stupid lines that are funny, some pretty ridiculous scenes. It's a really shitty movie, so I think I'll stick with a solid 8.
Wow.
Man, I don't even want to give it more than 13. I'm never going to. I want to watch it again.
Oh, I was thinking 8 out of 10. You're telling me 8 out of 100.
I give it 8% out of 100.
8%. I like it.
Yeah.
I may be a little bit more generous, honestly. Like, I'm used to watching pretty terrible movies. This movie's not any worse than Double Dragon. I want to give it a solid 16%.
Wow, twice the movie I think it is.
Solid 16%, folks. Please check out Street Fighter 2, the movie. I have one more drinking game thing that you can do. If you're a fan of the video game as well, you could watch the movie, and every time you say to yourself, that's not like the game, down an entire bottle of liquor.
Oh, Jesus. 2 drinking games are going to kill our audience.
Airplane bottles, whatever.
So all in all, or for a movie based on a video game, this one was awful. And it disappoints me because as far as storytelling goes, I think video games have come a long way in actually the world of storytelling. And a lot of times they're fantastic. Excellent directors, great cast. And this one doesn't live up to anything. Even, I remember back in the day playing Mortal Kombat, playing Street Fighter in the arcade. I could picture myself then watching this movie and just being crushed. Like, oh my God, this game's not cool anymore.
Exactly. Well, you try to add too much story. Where Mortal Kombat succeeded was it was a movie about fighting. That was literally just like the game. It's a tournament. It takes place on a weird island. Everybody just fights each other. That's all it's about. This movie makes this weird story about the United Nations and kidnap people and a guy that's holding ransom to try and build a giant shopping mall on
Yeah.
his own island.
And then puts them together to not fight. It should have just been called Street.
Just Street, yo.
Just Street. I think that, get some buddies together. If you want to waste an hour and 40 minutes and laugh about old times, especially if you're in the 30 age group demographic, I think that you would actually just once, make sure all your friends are there for the one viewing, get some alcohol, have a few laughs.
I think you should just surprise everybody with it. Invite everybody over, have a great time, have some alcohol, and then all of a sudden Street Fighter comes on. And you just sit down and watch it, and everybody's like, what? And they either have to watch it or leave. So that's the end of the first podcast. Not sure when the next one's going to come out, hopefully in about 2 or 3 weeks. Not sure what movie we're going to watch yet. Hopefully we'll get it every other week here. Get it.
Work in progress. Absolutely.
It's been enjoyable. Thanks, Man of Action.
Man of Action, thank you.
Awesome. That's the rollout. Peace.
There it is.